Hey friends, I'm Jack Watson, full-time UI UX designer, illustrator, animator, donut connoisseur, and I'll be your host for this Illustrator logo challenge. Today we'll be working on creating a nice branding presentation out of a logo type and patterns and using artboards to export everything out. Before we get started, go and check the description below this video, right below me. We've got a bunch of links down there, including a link to download your resources to create along with us. Once you open your Illustrator file, you'll probably see something like this. You'll see some artboards, a resource panel to get started. If you need help coming up with a logo idea, you can visit this goodbrief.io to get inspiration. You can pick different types. You can pick branding identity. If you want to go all out, you can just look at logo, and you can pick the industry that you want to look at. So you can use that if you need some help, or you can follow along with me and create something using my prompt. But let's dive in. So today I want to create a logo for a food truck, a summer food truck brand. I find it helpful if you kind of start with a brief. That's why I suggested Good Brief, or you can follow along and create your own summer food truck brand. It's just a good idea to kind of start brainstorming, which is what I'm going to do. I put down a couple of artboards here just to kind of help you lay out and think about what kind of elements you want to create. You can use these any kind of way that you'd like, but the idea is to put different brand elements on each of these so we can create a nice presentation to share on social media if this is a passion project, or to share with clients. So first, we need an idea. We want to create a summer food truck. Lately, where I am, a lot of places have been doing ube, like ube baked goods. There's like a new stand at the North Union Farmers Market by me. The girl only sells ube cookies. So I think that's what I'm going to focus on today. If you don't know what ube is like a purple sweet potato. I think technically it's a yam, and it goes really, really well in like sweets and like baked goods and stuff like that. So to get started, I am going to click on the type tool here, and I'm just going to type that out. I usually start this way with branding projects. I just like to start to think about like the words, maybe some products, just some ideas around the concept. So I'm just going to write out ube food truck, and I'm going to make that a lot larger so we can see it. I'm going to click on my selection tool here and click on my text, and we'll go over to our character panel at the top here, and we'll drop down to like 72 so you can actually see what I'm writing. And I'll even draw out here with the rectangle a white box, dragging that out, switching to the fill, creating a white fill, and I'm going to go to Object, Arrange, Send to Back. Okay, it's going to be easier for you to see what I'm writing there. Alright, so let's start with that. We've got ube food truck. What kind of items do they sell? They could sell like cookies, like I said. Maybe they sell, there's another stand that does like mini waffles, so maybe there's like ube waffles. Maybe they could sell ice cream. I've seen ube ice cream. If you've ever had, I think Halo is the dessert. It's a Filipino dessert that has ube ice cream in it. So we've got a couple of products. So far what I'm seeing in this is that a lot of sweets. Like I said, this is a food truck that sells sweet items, so I might write down sweet as an adjective. So now I'll start to think about different words that kind of identify my brand. So we've got ube food truck, they sell sweets, so sweet is an adjective. It's also a food truck, so these are items that are kind of like on the go. So maybe like we're thinking this is more like snacks / on the go. It's certainly not going to be like a formal sit-down kind of a place or a kind of a meal. So we've got those kind of things there. And then I think maybe I will pull like something a little bit more abstract. Let's go with magical. And I say magical because if you've ever seen ube before, they turn whatever they're in like this really magical kind of purple color. So any like baked good that they go in, they turn the whole thing kind of like this deep purple. And it's a really cool, like, I don't know, I think it's kind of magical. So looking at this, now I think this is enough information to kind of start brainstorming ideas. The first thing that kind of comes to my mind when I'm looking at this is Ube Eats. I don't know if it's too on the nose, kind of a play on Uber Eats, but Ube. So I'm just going to type that out. But if you're in our live chat, feel free to let me know what names you like or would associate with this kind of food brand. We've got a live chat over here on behance.net/Adobe Live. You can hang out and chat with us every day at 11:30 a.m. Pacific. Maybe we pick something a little bit more generic. Maybe ube is a little bit too specific, so we can kind of play on the sweet potato idea. So I'm just going to write out sweet potato and try to come up with some sweet potato puns. Are there potato puns? I mean, lazy potato. We could go with hot potato. Hot potato is more of like an idiom, but it also kind of works. I think it works with like the speedy nature, right? This is a snacks on the go kind of a thing. Ooh, Carol in our chat is saying magical muffins. I think that would be super fun with like lots of sparkles. I love sparkles, as you can tell from my thing here. All right, so I think this is enough information to get started for now. I can still continue to kind of brainstorm names, but I want to put down some colors. So you could use, ooh, I lost my window. There it is. You can use color.adobe.com if you need help generating color palettes, but I'm just going to base my colors today on the actual like food items. Like I said, ube has this really cool, rich purple color that I think will be really, really nice with our brand here. So I'm just going to grab the rectangle tool. Ooh, Cody Bear in our live chat saying sweets buds. I love that one too. Let me write these down. So I'm going to write down magical muffins. It's from Carol in our live chat, and we'll write down sweets buds from Cody Bear. All right, so we've got a whole bunch of ideas here. Let's pull out some colors. It can be messy. It's fine. This is just us. This is just brainstorming, right? So I'm going to click and drag, holding down Shift to make a rectangle. And then I am going to double click to go into the color picker, and then I'm just going to pick a nice purple. Something that's kind of like a deep purple. Kind of reminds me of what the ube look like. I'm going to hit Command C and Command F to make another rectangle, and I'm going to balance that with a complementary color. Opposite the color wheel, we've got like yellow. And I think yellow will also work really nice with our baked goods kind of a theme. Sort of like butter. Bakery items are kind of golden, so we're going to scroll all the way down here in our color picker, and we're going to pick a nice deep golden yellow color there. And then I think I'm going to pick up like just 2 more colors to build out this brand. I'm going to pick some colors that sort of like, I'm seeing like a warm color palette here, so I'm going to hit Command C and Command V. Oop, and I'm just going to drag it down here. And that was the keyboard shortcut for copy and paste. I'm going to double click, and I'm going to pick a color that's sort of in line with these. Maybe we'll go with like an orange, a light orange. Kind of reminds me of sweet potatoes. It's looking a little bit fall for now. Maybe we'll do one more color here and pick something that kind of balances out that purple with like a really bright, vibrant color. So I'm going to grab a pink. I'm going to go all the way up here, a really nice pink. So we got a really good color palette going on here. Ooh, Rick in our live chat suggesting deep purple. I love that one as well. I'm going to type that out. So many good names. And whichever ones we don't use today, feel free to use these in your challenge if you'd like to. So good inspiration. All right, so we got some colors. I also came up, I have this idea in my head for the yam van. So I'm going to type up the yam van. I also like that. I really like play on words kind of stuff, so this is all up my alley. I should have become just a person that comes up with names for food brands in a past life, maybe. Okay, so now seems like a good time to hop over to Adobe Fonts. I'm going to look here for some fonts that kind of pick these, that match these adjectives, these ideas that we kind of have here. So I'm going to go to all fonts, and the way I like to navigate this is I like to look at these kind of tags here and say, like, do any of these kind of match the look and feel that I'm going for? I think I want something rounded because it feels very friendly, very soft, kind of like reminds me of baked goods. I like this aptly. I want something with a little bit of like personality to it. I'm going to sort also by weight. I'm going to pick heavy. And this is getting there. This is kind of cute, and I feel like this could work. But I like to sort by newest and just take a browse through what's kind of the latest stuff that's been added here. Ooh, I really like this one very much. This is decoy. I'm going to click in here to decoy, and then, yeah, this is looking really cool. I'm going to hit activate fonts here just to activate all of them, and then when I switch back over to Illustrator, that's going to be ready for me to go, and I can just kind of start to play. Okay, so we've got our fonts, we've got some colors. Let's type out our name here. Which one are we going to go with? I think I'm going to go with Ube Eats for today. So I'm going to type out Ube Eats by clicking on the type tool there, and I just dragged to accidentally make an area type. If you do that, I'm just going to select and delete that. I only want to use point type. If you click and drag, you can make area type, but I just want point type. So I'm going to click once, type out Ube, and then I'm going to make another text box here for Eats. Now I'm going to select both of these with the selection tool, and I can just go up here to my character window, and I can type in, we picked decoy. I can scroll down to a heavy version of it, and I'm going to zoom in here so we can kind of take a look and get everything lined up. So I've got it on 2 lines. I think these work well kind of stacked because they're pretty close in width, but I am going to scale Ube up a little bit. So Ube is the focus, that's the name of our brand, the primary name of our brand. So I'm going to make it a little bit larger, and it's going to make that so that it's the same width as my Eats text. So I've got Smart Guides on under View, Smart Guides. You can see that's checked. That also lets me snap. You can see these green lines. Those green lines on the side are actually aligning my text to the glyphs. So when I have it lined up here along the green line with my Eats text below, I can then drag by clicking in the upper right corner, holding down Shift. I can scale it up until it's aligned and sized up to the right side. So now everything kind of fits together nicely. Alright, so this is looking good. I said I wanted to stick to logo type today, but I also want to add a little bit of personality to this. So I'm going to select both of these. We'll start by adding our color to it. So I'm just going to use the eyedropper tool and grab our purple. Then I'm going to scale everything up using the selection tool. I'm just going to grab that corner and holding Shift, make it bigger. So I'm just looking at this. I'm trying to think, like, what can I add to this that's going to make it feel, give it a little bit more personality, kind of tie in back to our ideas over here. Can we make it look like one of our snack items? I don't know that it would work if we made it look like a sweet potato. I don't know that that's going to read very clearly. But the shape that really draws my eye is this U. It's really big, it's bold, it's the first letter of our brand, and it kind of reminds me with these round serifs of like a smile, which is maybe cheesy, but that's okay. So I'm going to try out switching to a circle here. I'm going to see what this looks like if I just add 2 circles right above the U. So I've got 1 circle. I'm going to hit Command C and Command F to copy and paste in front. I'm going to drag it across here, and we're just going to try out a little bit of like a smiling kind of face out of that U. It is making it an umlaut. It looks a little bit like an umlaut, if you know what that is. It's like an accent that goes over a certain character. But I do think it works in this case because Ube is kind of pronounced like an umlaut, so maybe it works. Either way, I think we're going to go with it for now. You can feel free to kind of expand on this idea and create something that's more, I guess, elaborate, make like a whole logo mark to put next to our logo, but for now this is going to be fine. I'm going to drag to select the 2 dots here, and I'm going to hit Command G. That lets me kind of group them and kind of move them around as a group, as a set here. Alright, so this is looking good so far. It's got a little bit more personality. If I wanted to emphasize this shape a little bit more, or this like letter and these dots here in our kind of logo type, I can grab the circle tool here, and I can actually, similar to like, we can make a little like smiling face out of this. We can add a circle kind of like behind this by holding down Shift and dragging out a circle. And I'm going to pick the yellow. And let's go to Object, Arrange, Send to Back. Now we can kind of position it here so it's kind of behind our U here. So now this kind of emphasizes that this is a little smiley face, right? If I wanted this to be more centered, I can drag to select both of my circles. I can click again on my little circles, and that makes it my key object. So whatever your key object is going to be the thing that your other objects align to, which are selected. So if I go up here and I hit horizontal align center, it's going to align my circle in the backgrounds to the key object, which are my little circles. So let's zoom back out here. So now we've got our logo kind of set, logo type, lockup here. I could also create a really quick mark out of this design. I can select everything here, and I can go to hit Command C and Command V to make a copy. I can get rid of this bottom text here, and I can get rid of the BE here. And you can see that we've got this cute little like smiley face kind of a mark out of this design. So I'm going to drag and select all of this. And I'm going to do the same thing that I kind of did before. I'm going to make, except this time I'm going to make the circle our key object. So I'm going to click again on that circle. It's going to add a bolder highlight around it. And I'm going to hit horizontal align center. That's just going to make sure that I've got this all kind of centered within my circle. The last thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to select all of the stuff for my mark. I'm going to hit Command G to make a group. Select everything for my logo type. And I'm going to hit Command G to group. And that kind of lets me move these around independently and kind of get them positioned how I want to on my artboard. I can select all of this. I can scale it up a little bit to fill it. So like maybe this artboard here is just showing off that whole design, all of that together. So I'm going to pick I'm going to add a background to this artboard. So I'm just going to click in the corner here with Smart Guides. Oop, missed it a little bit. And I'm just going to drag from the upper left to the bottom right corner to add a background. I'm going to make it, I'll make it white for now. I'm going to go to Object, Arrange, Send to Back. We can add a little bit of a color to that. If we double click in our color picker, we can go up here, make it maybe a little bit of a light purple or something like that. But the next thing I want to do is I'm going to add 2 logo variations to this. So I'm going to use these top panels up here to create a version on a dark background and a version on a light background. And that's important if you want to be able to make sure that your logo is going to work on different colored backgrounds and to kind of test your color palette. So I'm going to copy this whole mark, hitting Command C, Command V to copy and paste. Command C, copy, Command V to paste. We're just going to put them over here, just like that. I'm going to drag out another rectangle, and I'm going to drag out another rectangle to fill my artboards. This one looks like it didn't quite make it. There we go. Alright, and I'm going to pick a dark background by just grabbing my darker purple. I'm going to grab a lighter color. I'll pick yellow. Then I'm going to go to Object. I'm going to select both of these rectangles. In order to see my logo again, I'm going to Object, Arrange, Send to Back. Alright, so right away we can say some problems, right? The yellow circle disappears over here. All the text disappears over here. So because these are grouped, if I just click on the group, it's going to change the whole group at the same time to like a different color, and we don't want to do that. So I'm going to hit Command Z. Using the direct selection tool, I can select just the background circle, and I can pick a different color. I can pick maybe this orange color, has good contrast. I just want to pick colors that I can see the elements of my logo against the background. So if I select everything, a good way to kind of check, so select everything, go to Object, Edit Colors, Convert to Grayscale, and that lets you kind of look at things without all of the colors kind of, coloring your view. So you can just kind of see how the values are working in the colors instead of the actual colors. So, if that makes sense. Alright. I'm going to do the same thing over here, except this time I'm going to double click on my logo type group, and it's going to take me into this isolation mode. That's going to be easier for me to just kind of select. I'm going to drag to select all of this, and then I'll hold down Shift and click on that circle to deselect the circle. Makes it a little bit easier for me to select stuff in this view. Then I'm going to use the eyedropper tool to change my yellow to that, or my purple to that yellow color. And then I'm going to select my background circle, and I think we'll use the pink this time. That way we use all of our brand colors, right? And then we'll go out of isolation mode by tapping that arrow twice. Another way to get out of isolation mode, if you're in there, you can just hit escape. So you can either use those arrows, you can hit escape. Alright, so this is looking good. We've got some really nice branding going on, our logo on different backgrounds. Now we're going to add kind of a playful fun element here. I want to make a pattern, and I want to make a pattern to kind of showcase my brand. So I'm going to click on the rectangle here. I'm going to do the same thing, dragging out a rectangle to kind of fill my background. Alright, so I'm going to use, I think, just the mark this time, so a little smiley face. I'm going to hit Command C and Command V to make a copy of it. And I think for this, I don't actually want this to be in color, so I'm going to go up here to Object. I'm going to go to, I'm going to go to Type, Create Outlines, and then it's going to create an outline of my U. So it's a shape instead of a character. And then I can go over to the Pathfinder over here and I can choose minus front. And it's going to make this a shape that's like transparent, like it's cut out these the shapes of my smiling face so that if I drag it over another color, you can see that the background's coming through. We'll zoom out and I'm going to just make this white. Actually, I'm going to drag it onto the pink so you can see it before I make it white. I'm just going to leave it in the upper corner over here for a sec. I might use Shift and scale a little bit. Now to make my pattern, I'm going to go to Object, Repeat Grid. And it's going to help me out by making a couple of copies so I can kind of see how it's repeating. I'm going to zoom in. And with this tool, you can actually drag, I'm going to hide the background for a second by going into, or actually we'll make this a different color. So you can see the background. You can see these corners a little bit better. Okay, so now you can see the red. So with these big handles on the sides, I can actually drag these out. If I drag my design to the top left here, I can drag these out and it's going to add more columns. So it's going to add more columns as I go across, dragging the large handle. If I drag it down, it's going to add more rows all the way down, filling my artboard. And then if I zoom back out, if I drag these top arrows here, it's going to add more space between each of the columns, so I can make it a little bit farther out, so not so close. And the same thing here, the vertical arrows are going to add space vertically to the rows. Alright, so this is looking good, but it's looking a little bit too like static to me. I want it to be a little bit more active. So I'm going to double click into my pattern, and doing so takes you into that isolation mode again. And if we zoom in, we can actually edit our pattern. We can edit the shape in here on the fly. So I'm going to rotate this to add a little bit of playfulness to it. We can scale it down a little bit, and any change that we make is going to be reflected in our pattern as we make them. So once we kind of feel good about the way that that looks, again, you can either use that arrow or hit escape to get out of isolation mode. And now it's looking better, but we can also add a little bit of variation by going into our repeat pattern or repeat grid settings. So if I drop down into the object menu, down to repeat, and go to options, we've got a couple of options in the panel here. We can go over here and we can choose to offset the rows or offset the columns just by clicking these options here. And it kind of adds a little bit of variation. We can also flip the rows. Or we can flip the columns, either vertically or horizontally here. And whatever you tap on, it's going to make it darker to kind of indicate that you've selected that option. I don't think we want to use vertical because that's going to make our smiley face upside down and we don't want to frown. So I'm just going to go with the horizontal options and I'm going to hit OK. So that's looking pretty good. It's adding a lot more variation to my background pattern here. I'm going to hit the rectangle and I'm going to change it back to that pink color because I think that that is a little bit more fun to have all of our colors represented there. And we can also, now that we've got our pattern set up, we could actually layer our patterns. If we added another kind of like a line here using the line tool, we can add a white stroke by clicking on the stroke. I'm going to increase the weight by just using the arrow keys up here on the stroke size. We can go to Effects, we can go to Distort and Transform, Zigzag. We'll choose like a fun like wavy line by selecting Smooth and the Zigzag options. And then we can just kind of like place this over here. I'm just going to rotate this using the Selection tool holding Shift to create a 45-degree angle. And then I can go up to my Object, Repeat, Grid. You can actually layer these grids on top of each other to build out more texture in your pattern. just like that, dragging it out. I'm going to adjust the spacing here, moving it over, moving it up so that those lines kind of meets to create like a continuous line. You could adjust that and make it a lot nicer. But I'm going to go up and let's say I'm ready. I can choose export, export for screens, and I'll get all of my normal options here for all my individual artboards. But we want to export this out as a presentation, right? So one thing that you can do is you can actually create a artboard on top of existing artboards, kind of like artboard inception. I'm going to click in the upper left corner and I'm going to drag from the upper left to the bottom right. And now I've made a new artboard that contains all of my artboards. So when I go to export, export for screens, I can export that artboard and it's going to come over as a full presentation view that we can share with our client with all of our artboards, right? So once you're ready to share, you can hop on over to our Discord. The link is below in the description, and post your work in the challenge feedback channel for everybody to take a look at. We've got a bunch of people sharing their work in here already, looking great, icons from yesterday, and we've got Allison submitting an updated version of the perspective challenge. If you wanted to take this further, you could save these elements to a library and bring them into Creative Cloud Express. There's lots of options. Bring them into a mock-up of like a food truck. But that's going to be it for me for today. Thank you all for joining me for a Illustrator logo challenge today. We went over artboards. We went over creating patterns. If you... Oops, sorry. And exporting. Sorry about that. We're live every day at 11:30 a.m. Pacific time at behance.net/Adobe Live. Stay tuned to Behance for more live content right after me. And I hope you have a good Friday. Bye, everyone.